Hello and welcome to a new video, another video about the Sony ZV E1. It's going mad on YouTube. Especially a few days ago, I launched a video explaining why I returned this camera because of overheating issues. If you want to watch it, go and check it out. And people went wild. In one night, poof, the video went up, a lot of comments down here and questions, similar questions. That's why I decided to make this video today where I answer some of your questions. So I hope it's gonna be helpful. Let's start. Some people asked what settings I was using when the camera overheated. I wanted to get the most out of the camera in terms of quality, so I was choosing 4:2:2 10-bit, but also in terms of codecs, I was using XAVC-S at 24 frames per second and 60 frames per second in Full HD, and that's when the camera overheated and shut down. But also I use XAVC-HS 4K 24 frames per second and 60 frames per second, especially during the vlog outside in London, and the camera overheated again. So these were the settings I used. Someone asked, did I set the temperature control to high temperature? Yes, I did. Not the first time, but then I realized there was an option, so I did. Still, the camera crashed. Okay, what was your environment temperature? I'm living in London. There's no extremes here. In my house, there was probably 17, 20 degrees. Outdoors, it was probably 14 on the day of the vlog. It was a bit chillier, and that's why the camera had less problems. But still, these things shouldn't happen unless you go really like 50 degrees or minus 20. Do you know what I mean? And here I'm going to open a chapter because the key point of my previous video about the overheating and this video as well is that a company is producing a camera with certain specs. You should be able to use those specs like full power with no problem. Whatever codec I'm using, whatever frame rate I'm using, whatever resolution, because those are in camera. If the camera can't keep up with those specs, don't put them in. Same thing, it's not just happening with Sony. I had the same issue with GoPro and blah, blah, blah. But yeah, of course, this video is about Sony. So why would you give me 60 frames per second in 10-bit, 4:2:2 in 4K if the camera cannot record at those frame rate and resolutions? And now there's probably a firmware update that can allow you to film at 120 frames per second in 4K, and I really want to hear what's happening there. Someone asked if I changed the brightness of the monitor to the minimum, and no, I didn't, because again, that shouldn't be happening. If I have the option to set the brightness of the monitor to be brighter, and outside you struggle to see through the monitor, I didn't. Sorry. It's like buying a Ferrari, and you can reach 300 miles per hour with the car, but Ferrari tells you if they overtake 100 miles per hour, the wheels come off. Also, the car might explode. Like, what? Of course, that doesn't mean that we always need to push our tools to the maximum. But if I want to do so, I have to know that the engine keeps up. So I need to know that this camera can do that, can film with the maximum resolution, with the brightness of the monitor to the top, and so on. Otherwise, the customers complain, they return it, they want the money back because we're spending big cash for this gear. Then we had some statements about this is a camera made for vloggers. Sometimes the way I film my vlogs are actually more intense than when I'm on professional shoot. That's the first thing. Also, overall, I want to mention that some people are very aggressive and rude, which is not the case. I mean, what's the point of doing that? First of all, I'm going to block you out of the channel. And seriously, we're just talking about cameras, opinions, and personal needs. So one guy was telling me, quite in a rude way, and is being blocked out now. You know, you're talking about high resolutions and frame rates, but your vlogs are not even in 4K at 60 frames per second. And that's a different point. But first of all, I shoot a lot of my stuff in 4K 60 frames per second. A lot of vloggers do, so that's why the camera should keep up with these formats. The fact that we don't upload in 4K is a different story. So filming and editing and deliverables are three different things. Filming in 4K, first of all, gives you the option to recompose your image if you're editing in full HD. So that's why I film most of my vlogs in 4K. The slow motion 60 frames give you the option to tell a story in a better way. Sometimes you need slow motion. B-roll sometimes looks just better as well in slow motion. Or you just want to extend your clip, which was filmed with a short amount of seconds. You want to double it, you're gonna film in 60 frames, 100 frames per second. So all these things help to tell the story in a better way. And once again, if something went wrong with the composition during the filming, I can recompose it, scale it down into a full HD sequence and create an output in full HD and upload it to YouTube in full HD as well. So let's say that we want to target the camera to vloggers. What kind of vloggers are we talking about? Are we talking about camera reviews vloggers? We're gonna talk about travel vloggers, fashion, beauty, product, photography vloggers. Who are these vloggers? Everyone uses the camera in a different way. Once again, sometimes I talk to the camera for 10-15 minutes in 4K, 24. If the camera can't record for 15 minutes, that's not for vloggers either. What if I'm at the Yellowstone Park in the US and there's a geyser, you know, erupting every tot of minutes, and I want to hold my camera there until the geyser erupts? I can't do that because the camera will not be able to do it. So what do? I just wait there, and as soon as a geyser erupts, I press rec. Oh shit, I missed it again. You know, it just doesn't make any sense. If I'm in the middle of the Philippines on a boat in the middle of the ocean, there's a dolphin swimming there, and my camera just overheated, I'm gonna miss the chance, I'm gonna miss the memory. What's the point? Someone was asking, okay, how can we avoid the overheating? And that sort of stuff I found online as well on YouTube. They're trying to find ways and tell you ways to avoid the overheating, which shouldn't be happening in the first place. One guy mentioned you can use a dummy battery, so an external battery, so the internal battery doesn't warm up the camera. And again, what are we talking about? It's like, again, going back to the Ferrari, they go, yes, you know, this car is great, but when you, as we mentioned, as you overtake the 100 miles per hour, it might explode. So you want to carry a mechanic with you the whole time, just to make sure that doesn't happen. And I need to pay the food also for the mechanic, and you know, accommodation. Does he need to live with me? Like, do I need to buy him clothes and stuff? You keep add things. If you want to create a vlogging camera, and I need to add an external battery like I would do for a Blackmagic, for example, it defeats the purpose. Or some people asked, why don't you buy a magnetic fan to put at the back of the camera? Once again, I don't want to add anything because I'm buying this camera for travel vlogging, and I want to travel as light as possible. If I had to attach an external battery and a fan, I'm gonna buy an FX3. So yeah, that was a bit of a mess there in the comment tabs, but if you have other questions, I didn't use the camera that long in the end, only just a week, but I tried to answer as honestly as I can. Once again, guys, I want to hear your opinion. If you have purchased the camera, if you're testing it out, maybe again, I've been very unlucky with it. Drop the comments down here, hit subscribe, more stuff coming out soon. See you soon. Thanks for watching. No offense, it's just my experience. And the thing is, I love Sony products. I've been using them since I was 20, so 20 years I've been using Sony products. Catch you later.